Hey there, I'm back this week. I was hoping to have, something meaty to discuss about last night's federal budget. Unfortunately, it was boring, so we won't be talking about that. Probably though, one of the key overtones there that the federal government was looking at addressing were the cost of living crisis and the housing affordability. There were two key things that they're really trying to make some strides into helping families, in these areas. And I feel that we're really just chipping away at the edges here. I think if we want something to really happen here, we need to take some quite extreme action. We need to look at things very, very differently. We can't just keep, offering families $300 here and there and hope that that's just going to magically make all the difference in their lives. Funny enough, though, I do have a bit of an idea and an opinion on how we might approach this. What we do have, and we know we do, and we've seen the data, it's all there, is that we have a lot of older Australians living in properties that really are far too big for what they require. Now, we don't want to be kicking people out. However, I know that there are some people who just, simple as that, they'll be taken out in a box, and that's the end of it. And I get that, and I understand that, and appreciate it, and have seen that firsthand with my parents. But I do know from discussions with clients, associates, friends, etc., that there are a number of people who are taking into account the fact that if they downsize, they will lose part or all of their pension benefits, their age pension benefits. And I think this is a terrible reason to be making decisions. It's not ideal for you and I as the taxpayer. Effectively, all we're doing is we are assisting the children inherit more money. And this is not in the spirit of what the age pension is trying to achieve. And so I would attack things slightly differently. So what I would do is I would include part of the principal residence in the assets test for the age pension. Now, before you shoot me down, just wait a moment, hear me out, and let's see what we've got to say. But I do feel that this would mean that there'd be a number of people who are hanging on to that home purely because of the benefits that they're receiving. It would mean that they would have a bit of a rethink and could, free up that property for a family that needs it. Rather than an individual living in a 5-bedroom house. But I guess coming back to the caveats that I'd put in place, firstly, if a property is worth less than $750,000, it would not be included anywhere in Australia. If that property is worth less than $750,000, forget it. Leave that out of the means test. So that's our baseline. The other thing I would do is I would break Australia up into various regions. That could, city, metro, whatever it might be. And I would include in the assets test the median house price in that area plus a 50% buffer. So allow someone to live in a nice property or whatever who's just got a big block of land. Don't penalise them for that. But anything over and above that 50% above the median price should get included in the calculation for the assets test. And even then, I do not want to kick Great Aunt Gertrude out of the property that she desperately wants to stay in. And I just don't want to be that person. So I would say, Great Aunt Gertrude, if you require the full pension plus benefits or whatever it is, to maintain your lifestyle in that property, that's fantastic. Any excess, however, we'll keep paying you that amount. But any excess over and above the new calculation will go on a HEX or HELP type system. Don't force people to go and get those awful reverse mortgages that I've seen over the years have just decimated people's estates. It's bloody awful. It's daily compounding interest. It's horrendous. This HEX HELP type system is once a year. It's at CPI or the lower of, as they've just recently introduced the wage index. And I think that'd be fantastic. Let that, as it accumulates, come out of either the ultimate sale of the home or out of the estate directly at the end. I think we should be very careful and very targeted about how we then use those funds, the proceeds from that. Don't just let it go in a consolidated revenue. Let's use it for what we want to do with it, which is to help with the housing affordability problem and the cost of living crisis. Provide significant subsidies, real meaningful subsidies for all utilities for families. Potentially, registrations on a vehicle for each household. And again, referring back to my one of my recent posts, the tax break for childcare expenses, which I absolutely believe it's a lay down misère. That absolutely should be tax deductible to the family. The other thing I'd look to do there is really provide some really direct assistance to help essential workers be able to buy properties in the area of in which they're working, rather than travelling 3 hours a day. Really target nurses, police officers, fire officers, whatever. It's the list goes on. But let's really provide them with some direct assistance to get into a property in an area that's suitable. That is about it from my point of view. This is something that I've been thinking about for many years at this stage. Again, don't kick great Aunt Gertrude out of the property. Keep her in there. But let's not just help the beneficiaries of the estate, which is all we're doing now for some of these people. We are simply helping the beneficiaries when really they should be funding their own. Again, don't boot people out on the street. Don't force people to sell if they really don't want to sell, but make them pay it back. Do it on a hex type system, and we'll achieve a good result there. We just simply don't have enough money for this ageing population. We have all these properties that have gone through the roof in value. We have people who are living in a 5-bedroom house and they're on their own, and we have families who are squeezing into, that need that 5-bedroom house. They're either squeezing into a 3-bedroom villa or something like that. I believe that this can address several things, and as long as those funds that we generate here are very carefully targeted and specifically targeted to what we're hoping to get out of it, I think we can get a good result. I'm TC. That's my 2 cents.